Looking at ancient Maya civilization, you'll find something shocking hidden in the archaeological record. The Maya grew crops that modern governments have made illegal to possess. These plants powered their entire spiritual system for thousands of years. Today, growing many of them can land you in prison. We're diving into 8 ancient Maya crops that current drug laws have pushed into the shadows, exploring what made them so important and why authorities decided they needed to be controlled. The rise of Maya civilization. The Maya civilization flourished across Mesoamerica from around 2000 BCE until the Spanish conquest in the 1500s. They built massive pyramids, developed complex writing systems, and created astronomical calendars that still amaze scientists today. Their agricultural knowledge supported millions of people across diverse landscapes, from coastal lowlands to mountain highlands. Maize, beans, and squash formed their dietary foundation. These plants grew together in the milpa system, a farming method that enriched soil and maximized yields. The Maya understood plant relationships in ways that modern agriculture is only beginning to rediscover. Sacred plants and spiritual ceremonies. Beyond food crops, the Maya cultivated plants for spiritual purposes. These weren't recreational drugs in their world. Shamans called daykeepers used specific plants and controlled ceremonies to communicate with gods, predict the future, and heal the sick. Every ritual followed strict protocols passed down through generations. The Spanish conquistadors witnessed these ceremonies and wrote detailed accounts, though they condemned the practices as paganism. Colonial authorities tried to stamp out these traditions, viewing them as threats to Christian conversion efforts. Despite centuries of suppression, some Maya communities maintained knowledge of these sacred plants in secret. Archaeological evidence. Archaeological evidence confirms widespread use of psychoactive plants throughout Maya territories. Researchers have found ceramic vessels with chemical residues, carved stone mushroom effigies dating back 3,000 years, and murals depicting ritual consumption. At sites like Copan, Tikal, and Pulque, artwork shows shamans preparing special drinks or administering substances through enemas for rapid absorption into the bloodstream. Recent discoveries at a 2,000-year-old Maya ball court uncovered a ritual bundle containing traces of multiple psychoactive plants, proving these substances played roles in major ceremonial events. How modern drug laws changed everything. Modern drug laws emerged from international conventions in the 20th century, particularly the 1971 UN Convention on Psychotropic Substances. These regulations classified compounds based on Western medical perspectives without considering indigenous cultural contexts. Plants that Maya people had used safely in religious settings for millennia suddenly became Schedule I controlled substances, defined as having high abuse potential and no accepted medical use. The irony hits hard when you realize that recent scientific studies are discovering therapeutic benefits for several of these compounds, from treating depression to helping with PTSD. Number 8, Datura, Jimsonweed. Starting at number 8, we have Datura stramonium, known commonly as Jimsonweed or thorn apple. The Maya mixed this plant with tobacco to create powerful hallucinogenic blends. Datura grows wild across the Americas, producing trumpet-shaped white flowers and spiky seed pods. Maya farmers sometimes cultivated it near settlements, though it required careful handling due to its toxic nature. The plant contains tropane alkaloids, specifically scopolamine and atropine, which cause intense delirium and visions when consumed. In Maya ceremonies, shamans prepared datura by drying the leaves and seeds, then smoking them or brewing them into teas. The effects were dramatically different from other entheogens. Users experienced complete disconnection from reality, often unable to distinguish hallucinations from actual events. These properties made datura useful for specific rituals, particularly those involving communication with the underworld realm called Xibalba. Warriors sometimes consumed small amounts before battle to eliminate fear, though the line between effective dose and deadly poisoning was dangerously thin. Today, several U.S. states have banned datura possession due to numerous poisoning cases. Teenagers occasionally experiment with it after reading about its hallucinogenic effects, leading to emergency room visits and sometimes deaths. The plant contains unpredictable alkaloid concentrations that vary by growing conditions, making safe dosing nearly impossible. Medical use is extremely limited, though scopolamine derivatives appear in some motion sickness medications. The Maya understood these dangers and restricted Datura use to trained specialists. Modern laws reflect legitimate safety concerns, though they also erase the sophisticated knowledge systems that allowed safe ceremonial use for thousands of years. Number 7. Agave, Pulque. Number 7 brings us to various agave species, particularly those used to produce pulque. The Maya cultivated agave plants across their territories, harvesting the sweet sap from mature plants. Farmers would cut into the heart of the plant and collect the agua meal, or honey water that flowed out. This liquid fermented naturally within hours due to wild yeast, creating a mildly alcoholic beverage. Pure pulque contains around 4 to 6% alcohol, similar to beer. The Maya enhanced pulque by adding other psychoactive plants to the fermentation. Morning glory seeds, psilocybin mushrooms, and other entheogens transformed the drink into a powerful ceremonial tool. These fortified versions induced profound intoxication and vivid hallucinations. Large communal vessels allowed groups to share the experience during festivals and religious observances. The Spanish noted the pulque played a role in sacrifice rituals, where victims were given the drink to reduce fear and pain. Archaeological evidence from sites influenced by Central Mexican cultures shows elaborate pulque ceremonies spreading to Maya regions. Current laws permit pulque production in Mexico, where it remains a traditional beverage. Adding controlled substances to pulque, however, violates drug laws in both Mexico and the United States. Growing agave itself is completely legal, as tequila and mezcal production depends on it. The restriction applies specifically to the entheogenic additives that made ceremonial pulque so potent. Some scholars argue this selective prohibition ignores the cultural context where these combinations held sacred meaning rather than representing substance abuse. Number 6. Balche tree, Lonchocarpus. At number 6, we find Lonchocarpus longistylis, the tree that provided bark for Balche. The Maya stripped bark from these trees and fermented it with honey to create a ritual beverage. Pollen analysis from lake sediments near ancient Maya cities confirms Balche production dating back at least 3,000 years. The trees grew naturally in Maya forests, and communities managed them carefully to ensure sustainable harvesting. Taking too much bark would kill a tree, so shamans regulated collection. Balche created mild intoxication on its own, producing a pleasant buzz and slight euphoria. Maya brewers often added morning glory seeds or other entheogens to intensify the effects. The resulting drink could induce powerful visions and altered states of consciousness. Groups consumed Balche during divination ceremonies, agricultural festivals, and coming-of-age rituals. The shared experience reinforced community bonds and collective spiritual experiences. Spanish colonial records describe Balche ceremonies in detail, though friars condemned the practice as devil worship. The tree itself faces no legal restrictions, and you can plant Lonchocarpus species freely. Problems arise when fermented bark beverages contain added psychoactive compounds classified as controlled substances. In Mexican states with significant Maya populations, traditional Balche brewing continues with legal protections for indigenous cultural practices. Outside these contexts, producing beverages with psychoactive additives would violate drug laws. Environmental concerns now threaten Balche trees more than legal restrictions do, as deforestation reduces their populations in the wild. Number 5. Mexican Marigold, Tagetes lucida. Number 5 introduces Tagetes lucida, commonly called Mexican marigold or sweet-scented marigold. This herb grew in Maya household gardens alongside vegetables and cooking herbs. The plant produces bright yellow flowers and releases a strong anise-like aroma when crushed. Maya farmers valued it for multiple uses, from flavoring foods to repelling insects. Archaeologists detected Tagetes residues in 14 ceramic vessels excavated at Copan, proving its importance in rituals. The Maya dried Tagetes leaves and mixed them with tobacco for smoking. This combination amplified hallucinogenic effects through chemical interactions between compounds in both plants. The herb contains coumarins and flavonoids that enhance nicotine's impact on the nervous system. Users reported euphoric feelings and dreamlike visions that lasted several hours. Shamans employed these smoking mixtures for divination, claiming the visions revealed future events or messages from ancestors. The practice required specific preparation methods and timing to achieve desired effects. Tagetes lucida remains legal throughout most of the world, sold as a culinary herb similar to tarragon. You can buy seeds and grow it in your garden without legal concerns. Issues emerge only when people process it and use it specifically to produce psychoactive effects. Some jurisdictions have analog drug laws that could theoretically apply to any substance used as an intoxicant, though prosecutions for Tagetes use are virtually non-existent. Research into the plant's compounds have revealed genuine anxiolytic properties, supporting Maya claims about its calming effects. Modern herbalists sometimes recommend it for stress relief, completely legally. Number 4, whitewater lily, Nymphaea ampla. Coming in at number 4 is Nymphaea ampla, the whitewater lily that thrived in Maya wetlands and constructed ponds. This aquatic plant appears repeatedly in Maya art, symbolizing fertility, rebirth, and the watery underworld. Murals at Pulque show nobles holding water lily flowers, and ceramic vessels display elaborate water lily motifs. The Maya cultivated these plants in artificial ponds and natural water features, harvesting the roots and flowers for ceremonial use. Nymphaea contains aporphine alkaloids concentrated in the roots and flower petals. When created as a tea or a tincture, these compounds produce sedative effects and mild hallucinations. The experience differed markedly from mushrooms or morning glory, creating a dreamy, peaceful state rather than intense visions. Maya midwives gave water lily preparations to women during childbirth to ease pain and anxiety. Death rituals incorporated the plant to help the deceased transition peacefully to the afterlife. The connection between water lilies and spiritual transitions pervades Maya religious thought. Federal law in the United States does not ban Nymphaea ampla, though some states monitor its sale due to potential intoxicant properties. The plant's rarity and cultivation stems more from habitat destruction than legal restrictions. Wetland drainage and water pollution have eliminated many natural populations. You can legally purchase water lily rhizomes from aquatic plant suppliers, and growing them in ornamental ponds raises no legal issues. Online vendors occasionally face scrutiny if they market the plants for their psychoactive properties, but straightforward horticultural sales continue without problems. Scientists studying the plant have found genuine anti-inflammatory compounds, adding to research interest. Number 3, wild tobacco, Nicotiana rustica. At number 3, Nicotiana rustica enters our list as the potent wild tobacco cultivated by the Maya. This species differs significantly from modern commercial tobacco, containing nicotine levels up to 9 times higher than the Nicotiana tabacum. Pollen evidence from Copan and other sites proves cultivation dating back to 500 BCE. The plants reached heights of 1 to 2 meters, with sticky leaves covered in fine hairs that trap the valuable compounds. Maya farmers grew Nicotiana rustica in small dedicated plots rather than large fields. They harvested leaves at specific growth stages to maximize potency, then dried them in shaded areas to prevent degradation. The resulting product was smoked in ceremonial pipes, chewed with lime, or brewed into powerful teas. High nicotine doses induced trance states, particularly when combined with other plants like Datura. The Maya used tobacco in bloodletting rituals where nobles pierced their tongues or genitals to offer blood to the gods. Tobacco numbed pain and induced visions that validated the sacrifice. Spanish chronicler Diego de Landa described tobacco's role in calming sacrificial victims before their deaths. Nicotiana rustica occupies a legal gray area in modern times. Tobacco products generally remain legal for adults in the United States, though heavily regulated and taxed. Growing tobacco for personal use is technically legal but subject to various restrictions depending on state laws. The high nicotine content makes Nicotiana rustica potentially dangerous, leading some jurisdictions to limit its cultivation or sale. Export and import face strict controls due to agricultural regulations. The plant's association with entheogenic mixtures raises additional concerns under drug paraphernalia laws. Indigenous groups can sometimes claim religious exemptions for traditional tobacco use, though these protections vary by location. Number 2, morning glory, Ipomoea Corymbosa. Number 2 brings us to Ipomoea Corymbosa, the morning glory vine that climbs through Maya gardens. Related to sweet potatoes, this plant produces beautiful trumpet-shaped flowers that open at dawn, giving morning glory its common name. The Maya grew it on trellises and fences where it served multiple purposes. The vine suppressed weeds, enriched soil with nitrogen, and produced seeds with powerful psychoactive properties. Archaeological analysis of ceramic vessels has confirmed morning glory residue dating to the Classic period between 250 and 900 CE. The seed contains lysergic acid amide, commonly called LSA, which shares structural similarities with LSD but occurs naturally in the plant. Maya shamans ground the seeds into fine powder and mix them with cocoa or honey to create ceremonial beverages. Some methods involved enema administration for faster onset and increased intensity. The effects began within an hour and lasted 6 to 12 hours, producing vivid visual hallucinations, altered time perception, and profound spiritual experiences. Shamans used morning glory visions for prophecy, healing ceremonies, and communication with ancestors. Maya codices show vine motifs and scenes depicting sacrifices and divination rituals. Modern drug laws classify LSA as a Schedule III controlled substance in the United States. This makes unlicensed cultivation of Ipomoea Corymbosa technically illegal, though enforcement is inconsistent. Garden centers and seed companies sell ornamental morning glory varieties freely, as casual growing for flowers doesn't trigger prosecution. Problems arise when people intentionally cultivate plants for seed harvest and psychoactive use. The 1960s counterculture discovered morning glory seeds as a legal high, leading to increased restrictions. Recent scientific research has found potential therapeutic applications for LSA in treating anxiety disorders. Indigenous communities in Oaxaca and southern Mexico continue using morning glory in traditional ceremonies, though legal risks constrain broader revival of these practices. Number 1. Psilocybin mushrooms, Psilocybe cubensis. Finally, at number 1, we have Psilocybe cubensis, a sacred mushroom that stood at the center of Maya spiritual life. These fungi grow naturally in tropical and subtropical regions, thriving in soils enriched by animal dung. The Maya understood this connection and managed their livestock to encourage mushroom growth in specific areas. This represented a form of cultivation, even though the mushrooms themselves grew wild. Archaeological evidence includes mushroom stones dating back 3,000 years, carved stone effigies showing figures emerging from mushroom caps. Sites like Colonial in Guatemala have yielded hundreds of these artifacts, proving the mushroom's central importance. Psilocybe cubensis contains psilocybin and psilocin, compounds that interact with serotonin receptors in the brain. These substances produce intense visual hallucinations, profound emotional experiences, and altered consciousness lasting 4 to 6 hours. The Maya consumed mushrooms fresh or dried during ceremonies, never recreationally. Shamans used them for divination, healing, and preparation for the Mesoamerican ball game. A recent discovery at a 2,000-year-old Maya ball court found traces of psychoactive plants in a ritual bundle, confirming mushrooms played roles in major ceremonial events. Murals influenced by Central Mexican culture show mushrooms associated with rain gods and fertility, themes that resonated throughout Maya religion. The United States classified psilocybin as a Schedule I controlled substance under the Controlled Substances Act of 1970. This designation means the government considers it to have high abuse potential and no accepted medical use. Growing, possessing, or distributing psilocybin mushrooms carries serious criminal penalties, including prison time and heavy fines. Classification has remained unchanged for over 50 years, despite mounting scientific evidence of therapeutic benefits. Recent research at institutions like Johns Hopkins University has demonstrated psilocybin's effectiveness in treating depression, anxiety, PTSD, and addiction. Clinical trials show remarkable success rates that surpass many conventional medications. The changing legal landscape. Legal landscapes are shifting slowly as states begin reconsidering psilocybin restrictions. Oregon passed a ballot measure decriminalizing personal possession and establishing regulated therapeutic use. Colorado, California, and other states are exploring similar approaches. Indigenous advocacy groups argue for religious exemptions similar to those granted for peyote use in Native American church ceremonies. These groups emphasize that psilocybin mushrooms represent thousands of years of sacred tradition, not modern drug abuse. The Maya descendants in Mexico and Central America maintain ceremonial mushroom use where local authorities tolerate traditional practices. International laws vary significantly, with some countries completely banning psilocybin, while others adopting more permissive stances. Ancient wisdom versus modern law. The story of these 8 plants reveals deep tensions between ancient wisdom and modern law. The Maya developed sophisticated knowledge of botanical compounds over millennia, learning to use powerful substances safely within controlled ceremonial contexts. These weren't drugs in the modern sense. They were sacraments, tools for spiritual exploration and community bonding. Colonial suppression began the marginalization process as Spanish authorities attacked indigenous religions. The 20th century drug war completed it, imposing global prohibition regimes that ignored cultural contexts. Plants that once connected the Maya to their gods became contraband, their cultivation and use criminalized. The case for regulation. Understanding these restrictions requires acknowledging multiple perspectives. Public health officials raise valid concerns about substance abuse and addiction risks. Some of these plants do pose real dangers, particularly Datura with its unpredictable toxicity. Uncontrolled recreational use differs fundamentally from guided ceremonial practice. Modern society lacks the cultural frameworks that made safe traditional use possible. Without trained shamans, community oversight, and spiritual context, these substances can cause harm. The Maya spent generations learning proper preparation methods, dosing, and ritual protocols. Simply legalizing everything wouldn't recreate those safeguards. The case against prohibition. At the same time, current prohibitions have clearly failed to eliminate drug use while causing tremendous social harm. Millions of people languish in prisons for nonviolent drug offenses. Indigenous communities face prosecution for practicing ancestral religions. Medical research has been blocked for decades, preventing development of potentially life-saving therapies. The rigid classification of psilocybin, LSA, and other compounds as having no medical value now appears scientifically indefensible. Therapeutic applications continue emerging from clinical trials, vindicating traditional knowledge that modern law dismissed as primitive superstition. Environmental impact. The environmental impact deserves consideration too. Several of these plants now face population declines from habitat destruction, climate change, and overharvesting. Water lilies suffer from wetland drainage. Balche trees fall to deforestation. When plants are illegal, conservation efforts become complicated. No one can legally cultivate threatened species for research or preservation if doing so violates controlled substance laws. Legal protections could enable botanical gardens and research institutions to maintain genetic diversity and study these important species without criminal liability. Cultural preservation efforts. Cultural preservation movements in Maya communities are actively working to revive traditional plant knowledge before it disappears entirely. Elders who remember ceremonial uses are aging, and colonial suppression created generational gaps in knowledge transmission. Young people growing up in modern Guatemala, Belize, and Mexico often know little about their ancestors' sophisticated botanical practices. Educational programs teach about these plants within cultural contexts, emphasizing their historical and spiritual significance rather than drug aspects. Some programs have gained official recognition, allowing limited legal use for genuine religious purposes. Indigenous knowledge and modern science. These 8 plants tell a larger story about how dominant societies treat minority knowledge systems. Western science spent centuries dismissing indigenous botanical expertise as primitive folklore. Only when pharmaceutical companies found valuable compounds in traditional medicines did attitudes begin shifting. Even then, corporations often patented indigenous knowledge without compensation, a practice called biopiracy. The Maya and other indigenous peoples developed the agricultural and ceremonial uses of these plants through countless generations of careful observation. Modern drug laws essentially criminalize that heritage while simultaneously exploiting it for profit. The path forward. The path forward likely involves nuanced approaches rather than blanket legalization or prohibition. Religious exemptions for genuine indigenous ceremonial use respect cultural rights without opening recreational markets. Regulated therapeutic programs can provide medical benefits under professional supervision. Scientific research should proceed without criminal liability for studying scheduled substances. Conservation efforts need legal frameworks that allow cultivation of threatened species. Education can teach about these plants historically and botanically without promoting illegal use. Different plants likely require different regulatory approaches based on their specific risks and benefits. Preserving ancient knowledge. Technology now enables knowledge preservation that wasn't possible before. Ethnobotanists record detailed interviews with Maya elders, documenting preparation methods, ceremonial protocols, and traditional ecological knowledge. DNA analysis helps identify plant varieties used historically. Chemical analysis reveals which compounds produce specific effects. This information gets stored in databases accessible to researchers worldwide. Future generations may benefit from this preserved knowledge if legal climates continue evolving toward more permissive attitudes regarding traditional plant medicines. Conclusion: 8 ancient Maya crops remain illegal or heavily restricted today. These plants sustained spiritual practices for thousands of years, yet modern society has pushed them into criminal shadows. From psilocybin mushrooms that shamans used to communicate with gods, to morning glory seeds ground for prophetic visions, to tobacco that eased ritual bloodletting. Each plant played specific roles in Maya religion and society. Current laws stem from recent drug wars and colonial suppression rather than ancient prohibitions. As science rediscovers therapeutic applications and indigenous communities fight for cultural preservation, these restrictions face growing challenges. The Maya knew something valuable about these plants. Perhaps the real question is whether modern society can learn from that ancient wisdom while managing legitimate safety concerns. The future of these 8 crops remains uncertain, caught between heritage and prohibition.